Now, I spoke about this at the top of the show, another worrying development this week with one of our naval helicopters in a near miss with a Chinese fighter jet off the coast of South Korea. Couple this incident with that sonar pulse late last year that injured an ADF diver, and it's clear that for all the rhetoric of mending relations with China, it's just as bellicose as ever in our region. Now, joining me to discuss is our national security expert, Lincoln Parker. Lincoln, great to see you. Thankfully, this time no one was hurt. But these incidents seem to be becoming much more frequent, and we're not having any strong, tough response from our government.
There's been very little response from the Albanese government. In fact, the Albanese government and the Prime Minister himself went on to TV and radio and said, well, we're making representations to the highest levels within the Chinese government. Now, we've since learnt that he absolutely made zero representations to the Chinese government from either himself, his foreign minister, his defence minister, or indeed any member of parliament in the Labor government. He left it up to bureaucrats and officials to do this. And what he really needs to do is start taking a stand for Australia and cancel China's Premier's visit coming up next month. Premier Li is scheduled to come to Australia, and Albo should cancel that visit and show that we mean business when you start attacking Australians.
So people that we pay in this country to keep us safe, like our police, security, defence, would be part of a group that would be in place to protect and provide protection for that kind of visit, you'd think. Gee, that's quite hypocritical when you think about what the nation he represents has tried to do to them in recent months. Why do you think Albanese is not picking up the phone to Xi?
Because I think he's frightened. Now, we're basically seeing a failed Labor-China policy. So in the last few years, we have seen, this is not the first attack that everybody should know. In the last few years, we have seen Chinese warship send up a laser into the eyes of ADF pilots, which could have blinded them. We had chaff or flares that almost went into the engines of one of our surveillance planes, and had it gone into the engine, it would have brought the plane down. Of course, we had the sonar pulses, which hospitalised 2 of our Navy divers, and that was something that the Prime Minister covered up before the APEC meeting in San Francisco. Then we had Chinese spy ships off our coast, and then we had the hacking of Australian Parliament, including hacking of our politicians, and also hacking of ASIO. So when is this going to stop? When you display weakness to a bully, they just continue, and we cannot let this kind of behaviour continue, because what we'll see is a death.
Absolutely agree with you. Well said, and great with all those examples. And then, Link, think about the ones that we don't know about and that we won't ever know about, because there's plenty of those as well. Plenty of those. Now, later tonight, the UN General Assembly is set to vote on a motion that could see it recognise Palestine as a member state. Penny Wong was asked about this on radio this morning. Have a listen.
We will consider the final resolution that comes before the General Assembly. Obviously, countries are still negotiating, text is changing. We will look at what the text says. We will look at what the actual meaning of the resolution is.
Now, she's tempering her language a bit more when it comes to this vote now. How significant would it be, Link, if Australia did vote for this resolution?
Well, it'll be hugely significant, and it sounds like she's sitting on the fence. She's not showing leadership because, you know, we've seen everything out of the Labor Party has been to support the terrorists in Gaza and not support Israel. If you compare the pair, I guess, when we had an Australian accidentally attacked in Gaza, an aid worker, well, the Prime Minister was all over it. He was straight onto the phone with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and he even had the temerity to appoint an investigator to go over to, an Australian, to go over to Israel to investigate it. But as soon as the ADF is attacked, for instance, he does nothing. Now,
that is such a great point, Link.
And now they're sitting on the fence with regard to this new UN motion. United States is opposing it, and all of the free people in the world are opposing it, and Albo wants to sit on the fence, and Penny Wong is sitting on the fence, which really sends the wrong message. It basically says that you will be rewarded for terrorist acts, and we'll give you, 2-state solution in that sense.